Hi friends, my name is Angela and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share with you 6 books that I want to read soon. And I came across this on Instagram, I think it was a tag, and it's just pretty much the idea of these are what I want to get to in the immediate future. As a mood reader, it can be a little bit tricky to have a TBR because while I have all the intentions of the world reading every book that I've brought into our home, my mood changes. And so right I might want to start reading Alice in Wonderland, but then I start to feel, oh, I really want to read something a little bit more nonfiction, maybe real life, a bit whatever it might be. And so that other book just gets pushed back. And it's not that I don't want to read it, it's just that I don't want to read it right now. So these are books that I think I want to read in the immediate future. And what's interesting is when I put this list of books together, and in the time I was putting it together, it's changed 10 times. It's hard to be, I'm very indecisive about what I want to read next, and I just pick it up based on my mood, which unfortunately for me means that right now I've got about 6 books on the go because I start a book and then my mood changes, so I want another book to read. And for that reason, I've got 2 books that I'm currently reading that were not even on my radar this month that I just happened to start reading because the mood took me there. So I'm going to share with you those 6 books that I want to read soon, and I hope that you'll be able to help me prioritize them, maybe which ones I should read sooner than others. And I also wanted to share with you just a few books that I've currently got on the go right now. So the first one that I'm reading right now is Cooked by Michael Pollan. I'm actually listening to this on audiobook mainly. When I commute to work, I usually take the train, and when I take the train, I prefer to read a physical book. But last week I was driving and I decided that I wanted to start a book. And nonfiction is usually a little bit better, I find, when I'm listening to an audio book, unless I'm listening to a novel that I've already read previously, because I just find it hard to keep up with the plot line. So this one's been really great. And Michael Pollan, the narration is really engaging. He writes the way he speaks, so it feels like a conversation. This was published a number of years ago. I think it might have been around 2013. So Michael Pollan's written a number of books about food. The Omnivore's Dilemma, I think, is the most popular one that I recall hearing about. I haven't read any of his other books before. But I did see the adaptation of this book on the Netflix series Cooked. The book is set up into 4 parts, and it takes you through the history of cooking with the 4 elements. So there's earth, fire, air, and water. And I've gone through the first part of the book, which is fire, and I'm currently into the water area now, which it's really interesting. I love the anthropology aspect of it when it talks about how we used to cook, or how we used to cook centuries ago and how we cook now. And then the conversation around what is cooking now and what is it going to be like in the future. You know, we're going to be like Back to the Future, of just sticking a dehydrated pizza in the microwave to have it miraculously appear. So I am enjoying it. And something I do with audiobooks is I do still bookmark them, because I find that while I'll listen to them while driving, I might want to pick it up again when I'm home. So I do track my reading, and so I do that as well. So I'm just about halfway through this one now, but I'm enjoying it. This book I did not even have on my radar. I found it in a bookstore and picked it up and started reading it pretty quickly. This is Happy Half Hours by A.A. Milne. And A.A. Milne, of course, wrote Winnie the Pooh, but he was also a playwright and a novelist and an essayist. And this is a collection of essays. My understanding is that this kind of came out of that uncertainty post-war, where people just didn't know what to do next. You know, they've been through such a traumatic time. And these are essays just based on very trivial things. I think there are essays in here about golf, about marriage. The ones I've read so far were on the library and children's books. I think this might be kind of like the post-war 12 rules for life kind of thing. You know, it's about those things that might be trivial. You might see them as being very small, but they make a big difference in your life when you really think about it. And anyway, this is really whimsical writing, really lovely. I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it. I think it also contains a bit of A.A. Milne's personal beliefs around pacifism, which I'm looking forward to picking up. But his writing is just beautiful. It's so easy to read. whether it's in Winnie the Pooh or in an essay like this. So it doesn't, I really do want to pick up more of his work, but this is lovely. And it's a beautiful little edition in this cloth-bound book. And then another book that I'm currently reading, I've only just really started, is Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens by Shakari Chandran. And this is a book that won the Miles Franklin Literary Award last year in 2023. And I shared a little bit about Miles Franklin, the writer, the woman, in a recent mini haul video. And I just kind of gave a little bit of background as to who that person was and how the literary award came about. And so I was pleased to see that I had put this one on, I had bought this a while ago, but I didn't pick it up because it had won a literary award. I was pleased to find that it had. So I wanted to read this one because the Miles Franklin Award celebrates Australian life and stories about Australian life. This particular one is set in Sydney, and the Cinnamon Gardens is a nursing home or a retirement home. And it just sounds like a really, really interesting bunch of characters. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be quite heartwarming. So the summary on the back says that Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens is about family and memory, community and race, but is ultimately a love letter to storytelling and how our stories shape who we are. So that's going, I'm looking forward to getting into this one. So that leads me into the books that are on my 6 books soon list. These are the books that I want to read sooner rather than later. But again, I might have something else pop up, like that little A.A. Milne book that takes precedence. So these are a mix of nonfiction, novels, all different types of genres. So the first one I have is The Trackers by Charles Frazier. And I mentioned this a while ago, I think in my books for autumn. And I don't know why I haven't read this yet. I think there are some books that I have on my TBR that I don't want to start reading because there's such promise in them. And once I start reading them, it means I'm going to start finishing it soon. And I think that's why I haven't started this one. I think it's going to be a book that I want to spend a lot of time with. So anyway, this one is set in Depression era America. I think it starts in Wyoming, and it follows a painter who meets a number of interesting characters. And there's a few secrets that come out from those people that he's meeting and living with and working with. And I think it takes him across the country from Wyoming over to California. So it sounds like quite a road trip of a story. And I'm looking forward to it. I haven't read any of Charles Frazier's other books, but this one I think I'm really looking forward to. And I believe it was only published last year in 2023. So it's fairly new. But that's on my 6 books soon. And then I also have Unruly, A History of England's Kings and Queens by David Mitchell. I'm a big fan of history, and I really do love understanding the history of the monarchy, in particular in England. There is so much history and information and generations. So I really do love it. And I've been looking for something that could give me like an overall, view. And this might be it. It seems to have such great reviews. I think it's written in a way that is easy to digest. It's not just dry information. I think there's a little bit of humor in here. There's also some photographs, which are always handy when you're reading through something like this. So this is just, it takes you through, I think, from King Arthur through to, I think, maybe Elizabeth I, maybe past there. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that. And that may be something that I start on audiobook. I might start driving a little bit more as we're coming into winter rather than catching the train. So that'll be, I think, be a really good one to have on audio, but also to just pick up and dive into here and there. So that's another one. This one is The Women by Kristen Hanna, which came out this year in 2024. This book is giving me major China Beach vibes. And I don't know if you remember that show from, I want to say it was the early 90s. It could have been the late 80s. And I loved that show. This was the era of ER and Tour of Duty and that kind of thing. And this is giving me those sort of vibes. So it's set in Vietnam. It's around a woman, I think, whose brother goes to the war and then she follows. And then these women become, heroines of their own story. There's a lot of courage in doing what they did is quite incredible. And Kristen Hanna's writing is beautiful and her research is really, really so well done. So this is another one on my 6 books soon. And then this one I picked up just recently called The Last Witch of Scotland by Philip Paris. And again, this one has a historical note where it says that the character this story is about is based on a real person. And that is that, it says here, the last person in Britain to be executed for witchcraft, known as Janet Horne, was arrested with her daughter in 1727 in the Sutherland parish of Louth in the Scottish Highlands. It was a capital offence to be found guilty of witchcraft from the 1500s on. It just says that it's a story of love, loyalty and sacrifice inspired by the true story of the last person to be executed for witchcraft in Britain. And I think there is stories around women who have been found guilty of witchcraft. A lot of the time these were women that were simply intelligent, outspoken, and I think this kind of just focuses on the element of women and witchcraft, the fact that being a woman almost precludes you for witchcraft in this particular era. You know, if you're intelligent, if you have an opinion, if you don't have a man that's willing to speak up for you. So I think it's going to be quite I guess a bit of a feminist story, but anyway, that one's I'm looking forward to, and I did fall in love with the cover. The next one I have is Antarctica by Claire Keegan, and I am such a big fangirl of Claire Keegan. This was her first book. It's a collection of short stories, and I think it was published in the late 90s, 99 or 2000. But it just says that in Antarctica, an astonishing sequence of stories, one of our most gifted writers illuminates the truths of human longing and fallibility. So I'm not sure, I think there might be maybe 20 stories in here. I love Claire Keegan's writings, but I have not read her writing in a collection of short stories yet. And I don't know if I'm a short story person. So far, I have struggled through them. I find that I have to spend a lot of time. They're books that drag on and on for me. I think it's because it usually takes me a few pages or a chapter of a novel to get into the rhythm of it, whether it's the writing, the location, the characters. And short stories are just so brief, you know, so depending on the writer, if they take a long time setting the scene, or if they're not quite so good at articulating it, I just don't connect with it. But if anyone's going to do it for me, it's going to be my girl Claire. So I'm going to give this one a go. I've finally found it on a bookstore shelf. I don't know why bookstores have been snoozing on her earlier works when her other works are just flying off the shelves. So I got Antarctica, and I also got another one of hers, which I can't remember the name of right now. But this one is on my 6 books soon. And then the last one I have is The Rules of Backyard Cricket by Jock Sarong. And just stay with me for a moment. This is a crime novel, and this was written around 2016, 2017. And it was shortlisted and longlisted for a number of awards in America and Australia. It's an Australian novel. It just sounds it sounds like it's going to be gripping. Darren Keefe is in the boot of a car headed for a shallow grave. But back then he was a kid set apart by an extraordinary sporting talent in riotous competition with the brother he idolized. How did it come to this? This has got such a great number of reviews. Australian writers are they're really well known for their crime fiction. So this has been on my TBR for a while, and I would love to get to it very, very soon. So those are my 6 books soon that I hope to get to in the very, very near future. Please let me know if I should push any of them to my top. Maybe you say it is not worth any of your, don't waste your time on any of them. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead, and I will see you soon. Bye.